BBC Radio Sussex.
Good morning, Sussex. So we're talking about Lulu today, not that one. No, we're talking about 83-year-old Lulu the turtle. She currently resides at the Sealife Centre in Brighton, but a campaign group think that she and her companion Gulliver should be moved to a sanctuary. Back to our top story then. The campaign to free Lulu, an 83-year-old turtle living at the Sealife Centre in Brighton.
They should go into their natural habitat because they need a bigger space.
Well, that's certainly what the campaign group Close Sealife think. They argue that Lulu and her companion Gulliver would be far better off in conditions that were closer to their natural habitat. And in fact, they've set up a petition demanding their release. But not everyone agrees.
Here's what people outside Brighton Sealife Centre told
When we
us.
saw them in there, the turtles seemed quite happy, and the kids love going to visit the turtles. It's one of the main attractions because they are so big, and the kids love it there.
I think they should probably leave them where they are. They're probably needing to just stay and rest.
They look like they're well looked after. They've got plenty of room down where they are now, but who am I to judge?
Turtles seem quite happy.
At the moment, I'd say no, they shouldn't be freed.
Well, we'll hear from Close Sealife very shortly. But first, this is what they say in their campaign video.
Free Lulu. Lulu, the green sea turtle, a victim of the aquarium industry, has been in captivity for almost her entire life, 82 years. In 1940, while still a tiny turtle, it is believed she was stolen from the vast ocean by a TV advertising agency to appear in an advert for soap. Since then, she has lived in 3 aquariums and been put on display for human entertainment. Each tank so incredibly small and barren compared to the vast ocean she was born to roam. In captivity, she circles the same restricted space again and again, with no chance to explore her natural world. We want to rehome Lulu and Gulliver to a sanctuary where they can live out their days in peace and quiet. Help end the captivity of animals.
Oh, it's the bit when they say that she was taken from the ocean as a baby by an advertising agency. You're like, oh, don't. It's like something from a movie, isn't it? But, it's all she's ever really known. 70 years now she's been cared for by humans. Would she survive if she was released? Well, Sealife wouldn't speak to us this morning, but they say in a statement, well, just that really, that Lulu isn't suitable for release into the wild because she doesn't have the essential skills necessary to survive. They also argue that her home here in Brighton does offer her a safe space to explore. Well, Sarah Whitehead is from the group Close Sealife and joins us live. Morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
What do you say then to this argument that, this is really all Lulu's ever known? And would she cope if she was now to be released?
Yes, if she went to a sea turtle sanctuary in more of a natural habitat, which should be around the equator, instead of obviously we wouldn't just want her released in the ocean here. She would be looked after by specialists, and they would assess how well she could cope, and then maybe have a bigger area all fenced off, and then gradually go till she can go in the sea. If they decide that she wouldn't be able to survive in the open ocean, then they would keep her in that water, that habitat, but not able to go for miles and miles, which is what she should have done right from the beginning.
To be fair, though, the Sealife Centre say that they have consulted, veterinary experts on this, and they think that such a major change would be very risky to her health and her welfare, because let's face it, I'm not sure, you probably know more than I do on this, how long turtles live for, but at 83, she's an old girl, isn't she? She's getting on.
She is an old girl, and they can live to about 90 years. But I think just because she's been in a tank and because they say that they look after her is not a reason for her not to be released. She should be out in the environment that she should be in right from the beginning. And I think the trouble with sea life is they're making money out of captive animals. All sea creatures should be in the sea.
It's not just about them making money, though, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? They do a lot in terms of conservation projects. And I suppose the other argument for aquariums and zoos alike is that they are educating future generations. And in fact, Sea Life say, that's what they're about. They want to inspire future generations to care for our world's waters, because as we know, they continue to be damaged and polluted.
But it's not education at all, is it? It's entertainment. If it's education, they would be showing films of her out in the ocean. It's entertainment, and it's money for Sealife, who are owned by Merlin Entertainment, who own masses of places like Thorpe Park, Madame Tussauds, all the aquariums in this country. So it's not education. Children know everything about dinosaurs, but they don't see them. So they don't need to see these animals in tanks. What that's telling children is it's okay to have captivity.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Sarah Whitehead there from the campaign group Close Sealife. I don't know what I think. What do you think? You can get in touch. Let me know. Text me 81333. Start your message with the word radio. I mean, would Lulu survive such a big change, such a long journey to that sanctuary? I suppose you could argue maybe that's what she deserves, sort of like the equivalent of a turtle retirement home. I don't know. As I say, Brighton Sea Life declined our invitation for an interview, offering this statement instead. They say the aim of any rescue is to release the animal back into the wild, but following expert advice, sometimes this is not possible due to the nature of the animal's condition. In the specific case of Lulu the turtle, she was confiscated by customs over 70 years ago and has been in human care for the whole of her adult life. Lulu is not suitable for release into the wild because she doesn't have the essential skills necessary to survive. Her new home in Brighton offers Lulu a safe space to explore, including a dedicated beach area and numerous places to dive, take gentle exercise and rest. Every marine animal is cared for respectfully and ethically by our dedicated and highly experienced staff. Well, we've been asking people what they think on the matter outside the Sea Life Centre.
They should go into their natural habitat.
Why do you think that?
Because they don't look so happy. They need a bigger space.
I think it very much depends on the purpose of why the sea turtles are there. It depends on whether there is a source of just entertainment or whether they're there to bring attention to the conservation that needs to happen to protect the species. Because I think if they're there for the just a general entertainment, then yeah, they probably should be freed. But I think if they're there to bring attention to the fact that we've essentially destroyed the environment they're living in, and they're there to raise money so that we can protect that environment, then I think it's probably a worthwhile cause them being there.
See, I think I'm with him. I think he makes a very good point, but I suppose that's what it comes down to. Are they there for entertainment purposes, or are they there to educate?
Radio Sussex.
Good morning, Sussex. Hope you're well this Wednesday. So we're talking about Lulu this morning, not the singer, the turtle. Yes, 83-year-old Lulu currently resides at the Sea Life Centre in Brighton, but campaigners say she should be released into a sanctuary. What do you think?
Signed a petition asking Brighton Sea Life Centre to release 2 turtles to a sanctuary they say would be closer to their real habitat. But the centre says they've already spent too long in human care, one of them 70 years. That one's called Lulu. Sarah Whitehead is from the group Close Sealife.
She should be out in the environment that she should be in right from the beginning. And I think the trouble with Sea Life is they're making money out of captive animals.
Now, our top story this morning, we're talking about 83-year-old Lulu. And if you're thinking, cool, she's looking good for her age, I'm not talking about the singer. I'm talking about Lulu the turtle, who currently resides at the Sea Life Centre in Brighton. But campaigners would like to see Lulu and her companion, Gulliver, released into a turtle sanctuary. We're hearing both sides of the argument this morning, but I'd also like to hear from you. Hundreds have signed a petition demanding the release of Lulu, an 83-year-old turtle who lives at the Sea Life Aquarium in Brighton.
They should go into their natural habitat because they need a bigger space.
Well, that's certainly the view of campaign group Close Sea Life. They argue that Lulu and her companion Gulliver would be far better off in conditions closer to their natural habitat. In fact, they've set up a petition demanding their release. This is what Sarah Whitehead from Close Sea Life told us earlier.
obviously we wouldn't just want her released in the ocean here. If she went to a sea turtle sanctuary in more of a natural habitat, which would be around the equator, she would be looked after by specialists and they would assess how well she could cope and then maybe have a bigger area all fenced off and then gradually go till she can go in the sea. If they decide that she wouldn't be able to survive in the open ocean, then they would keep her in that water, that habitat, but not able to go, for miles and miles, which is what she should have done right from the beginning.
Well, listening to that is Chris Newman, Director of the National Centre for Reptile Welfare. Very good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning.
What do you think should happen to Lulu and Gulliver?
It's very emotive, and unfortunately I think this is much more sort of an animal rights debate than animal welfare. I did have a look at the petition this morning, and the petition is very emotive and anthropomorphic. Releasing a turtle that has been in captivity for that length of time really would be entirely counterproductive for its welfare. It's not going to be able to adapt to when we're talking about a sanctuary, I'm not entirely sure what that would look like. But trying to rehabilitate this back into the wild is just really unrealistic.
But when we say back into the wild, they're not talking about just sort of, going down the beach and just releasing her into the sea, are they? They're talking about a sanctuary that would be, safe whilst they work out whether or not Lulu can adapt. I suppose my question earlier to the campaigner that we spoke to was, Lulu's an old girl. Like, I'm no turtle expert, but, even if you're talking about humans, as you get on a bit, any sort of major change or move can be detrimental, I would have thought, to your health and well-being.
I would suspect the likelihood of the turtle actually surviving the translocation from the UK to, let's say, Maldives or wherever they were thinking, it would be extremely detrimental, and the animal probably wouldn't survive. 80 years in captivity, this is not an animal that's going to adapt to the wild environment. And there are other issues that you've got to think about as well. So these are actually the most protected species under CITES. So the political logistics of getting the paperwork necessary to move it from the UK to another country is going to be extraordinarily difficult and quite protected and may not actually happen. Then you've got the logistics of actually moving this animal. And is it fair? This is an animal, it's 80 odd years. The average lifespan for a turtle is going to be sort of 90 to 100 years. I think moving her at this time really would be very detrimental to her health. So it's a challenge. It isn't one I'd be at all supportive of, I'm afraid.
What do you think about aquariums in general?
Well, again, that becomes I think aquariums are fine. I think they're very educational, same with zoos. But there's good aquariums and there's bad aquariums. I can't comment on the Sealife Centre at Brighton because it's not one I've actually visited. I've certainly visited some of their other facilities and they are excellent. So, again, but this is just an idealistic view, isn't it? Some people just simply oppose animals being kept in captivity. My position I think is actually very important. From an animal perspective and from a human's perspective. The average person in the UK will never get to see a turtle in the wild. So actually being able to see one in an aquarium, I think, fulfills a very important role.
Although Mike in St Leonard's has got in touch to say times have moved on, though. We can film our seas now and see all of these creatures in their natural habitats, where in the past we couldn't. Just look at the amazing David Attenborough programmes. He believes that because of that, keeping animals in captivity should come to an end.
That's somebody's view and they're perfectly entitled to that view. I would totally disagree with that as a statement because, yes, I understand Attenborough's done wonderful things and these films are absolutely magnificent. However, today with with what we see on the television and computer games, I think real life is very different to the screen. Now, if people don't approve of that, that's absolutely fine. Then don't go to zoos. But I'm not sure why they have the right to feel that they can enforce their views upon others. As long as we can meet welfare standards, I think zoos are absolutely fine.
I think perhaps they feel that it's not about education, it's more about entertainment, and it's about making money out of these animals.
The campaigners are doing exactly the same thing.
Chris, thank you so much for your time. Chris Newman, Director of the National Centre for Reptile Welfare. It's an interesting one, this, isn't it? What do you think? Should Lulu be released? I suppose that's the first question I'm asking. And I suppose the secondary question is, what do we think about aquariums and zoos in general? Are they there for educational purposes? Do they inspire the next generation to care more about their environment and animals in general? Or are they just wrong, full stop, and no creature should be kept in captivity? Well, Brighton Sealife Centre declined our invitation for an interview, offering this statement instead. They say the aim of any rescue is to release the animal back into the wild, but following expert advice, sometimes this is not possible due to the nature of the animal's condition. In the specific case of Lulu the turtle, she was confiscated by customs over 70 years ago and has been in human care for the whole of her adult life. Lulu is not suitable for release into the wild because she doesn't have the essential skills necessary to survive. Her home in Brighton offers Lulu a safe space to explore, including a dedicated beach area and numerous places to dive, take gentle exercise and rest. Every marine animal is cared for respectfully and ethically by our dedicated and highly experienced staff. Michelle says there's no reason for the sea life and its ilk to even exist today. It must be a living hell for its inhabitants who would normally swim many miles a day. However, Rod in Isfield says sea life must be doing a great job looking after Lulu for 70 plus years. How would any of those campaigners like to have their whole life changed after 70 years? How cruel it would be to move her now. Chris in Brighton says the campaigners are not making money out of these captive animals, as your previous guest ludicrously suggested. Unlike those businesses that imprison wild animals for the purpose of lucrative entertainment, captive wild animals should not be viewed merely as entertainment to be presented for the purpose of private profit. And Amy in Worthing says, I think it's really interesting listening to this debate about zoos and aquariums. Yes, there were good points made about the fact that David Attenborough programmes allow people to see things now up close. Zoos and aquariums, though, have strict policies when it comes to welfare. Also, people paying to go to see them are actually helping with funding for the animals and conservation and any releases that can be made. Keepers constantly have enrichments for every animal. So Amy says, I am for them. What do you think? What should happen to Lulu and Gulliver? What should happen to aquariums in general, I suppose, is the bigger question we're asking. You can text 81333, start your message with the word radio, or you can WhatsApp me 08000 321 333. Hungry like the wolf. It's Wednesday, the 26th of October, 2022, and this is the Alison Ferns Breakfast Show. Our top story today, we've been talking about Lulu and Gulliver, the turtles who currently live at the Sealife Centre in Brighton, but campaigners say they should be released into a sanctuary. There's a lot of divided opinions on this one. Mark from Port Slade's got in touch to say, I'm totally against animals being held in captivity, whether it be a zoo, a circus or an aquarium. Animals aren't here for our entertainment or to make humans money. I agree with the campaign that Lulu should be rehomed to a more natural sanctuary because I feel that her tank in Sealife Brighton isn't big enough. Lulu doesn't drink. She's totally teetotal. Oh, very good. Got this one from someone who says, I think the Sealife Centre should send Lulu and Gulliver to a place where they can live out their lives in peace. They do have access to sanctuary-type environments within the Sealife Trust. They've done it before with other animals. They've also made so much money for Sealife, these two turtles, that they now deserve not to be entertainment. I think they should have been in a sanctuary from the beginning. Now, though, they really do deserve a better life. If nothing else, being on public display and in a tank underground with no daylight and kids screaming is no place for an 83-year-old animal. The thing you've all been getting in touch with today about is Lulu and her companion, Gulliver. When we say companion, I mean, are Lulu and Gulliver, together, or are they just good friends? We're talking about the turtles that currently live at the Sealife Centre in Brighton, but campaigners would like to see them released into some sort of turtle sanctuary. Bill in Crowborough's got in touch, though, to say, I can understand people not liking to restrict animals to lives in captivity, but should all dogs and cats be released to fend for themselves, all horses set free to roam at will? Let's keep this in proportion and be more aware for the future whilst caring for creatures currently in captivity and perhaps acting differently in the future. At this point in time, those turtles are best left where they are. M makes a similar point. M says damage to turtles, Alison, through boat propellers, plastic bag ingestion and infection is not a scenario many people would wish to release a turtle into if they could see the damage caused. A sanctuary would have to be just that, totally protected. Well, that is it from me. Have a great day, won't you, whatever you are up to. And listen, thank you to everyone who's got in touch with the show today. A lot of people getting in touch about Lulu the turtle. In fact, the campaign group Closed Sealife have got in touch to say thank you for having us on this morning. Your last guest, though, suggested we were making money out of our campaign. I assure you we are not. It's actually costing us money to raise awareness of Lulu's story. And this from Colin, who says, very interesting debate this morning. Whatever the rights or wrongs, wouldn't a move at Lulu's age, she's 83, prove to be too traumatic? Plus, there's the inherent risk of not being able to fend for herself or avoid her predators' instincts she would have learnt at a young age.
Free Lulu.